You know, I've been thinking, what is it that makes Sonic so popular? Well, there are lots of reasons to love this dumbass. A lot of his games are of genuine high quality, but if this character's longevity was based solely on the quality of his products, it'd be over. Maybe it's the character's style, incredible iconicity, certain moments from the games. I mean, we see American media especially reference Sonic poses or moments constantly, for better and for worse. But just having an iconic design doesn't necessarily guarantee success either. Maybe it's the multimedia appeal from comics, TV shows, movies, and of course video games. Again, likely, but who really knows? None of the answers I've brought forward are necessarily wrong, all of them are correct in some way. Come on, do I look like a guy who's ever wrong? That's what I thought. I think with new life being injected into the brand since the movies and Frontiers' release, it's a better time than ever to be a Sonic fan. But what has this long intro been building up to? Well, I'll stop beating around the bush now. I simply just want to talk about and tell everyone my personal history with Sonic in this video, and why I love this character so much. His games and everything surrounding him. Because I can't really answer specifically what makes Sonic so popular to the general public, I don't live in people's heads for the most part. However, putting forward the reasons I like this character and my personal experience could probably help people understand on a wider level why a lot of people like this guy. But I don't think an exploration on why parts of society enjoy Sonic using my experience rolls off the tongue is good for a YouTube video. Yeah. I think the best way to start this is to go over my history from the beginning to the present, and well, honestly, my introduction wasn't a good one. My first ever Sonic game was Sonic Heroes, and I do actually still like this game, but when I was still an unholy homunculus child, my introduction to this game was the PS2 version, which looks and runs like this. I remember my version of the game couldn't even load past Seaside Hill, so my dumbass could only play the first stage of Team Sonic, but you better bet your ass I still played that single level a lot. The fact the cast is so diverse means that no matter what, there was always going to be one that appealed to multiple types of kids, whether that be paraplegic kids, autistic kids, my entity!
I enjoy Sonic very much.
Which is probably why we see discourse to this day about Sega underutilizing their characters, which I can't argue against. This Team Select screen alone made a huge impression on me because I could visualize what other characters or animals might look like. It fleshed out Sonic's world in my head to be more layered. I could choose my favorite out of this colorful cast, and even when I was only able to play Seaside Hill, I had a pretty good idea of what Sonic's universe was like. Now that time's passed and I own a GameCube, I can go a little more in-depth into why I still like this game, since I fully played it beginning to end now. While the pacing is off due to the fact you have to play every level slightly modified a total of 4 different times, one of those times being Piss Easy Baby Mode and the other one being, well, shit. Team Sonic and Team Dark have this weirdly satisfying flow once you change your mentality to try and get through the usually pretty long stages as fast as possible. You know, like a Sonic game should. While there are multiple points in the game where it asks you to stop dead in your tracks, once you memorize the levels and you're switching from character to character going on different paths that are efficient and will net you that A rank, it's super fun and satisfying. It's definitely a little janky and slippery, but again, if you really get used to the game like I have and engage with what it wants from you, I still think it mostly holds up. Of course, in a video that's about everything in the series, I kinda have to get a move on and condense my thoughts heavily. So I do have a lot more to say, but I think I've given you enough to put the pieces together and what my opinions on other aspects of this game would be. It's not my favorite Sonic game, that title belongs to something else, but I like it still. But Team Chaotix is still not fun to play in any way, and I kinda dislike the way the rings look in this game. So I'm gonna have to change my review from Heroes from positive to 100% negative. Fuck this introduction. Now, Sonic Heroes is cool and all, but it's not the only game in the series, believe it or not. Mr. Iizuka had to tell me that himself. I'm gonna kinda keep this section of the video brief because I don't want to butcher any possible talking points for future videos, and the script is already long as hell, so yeah. Sonic has a lot of different styles of gameplay, and a lot of people will tell you it's what divides the fan base so much, and while I do agree to a certain extent, I think it's actually a benefit. Having so many different eras of Sonic defined by their gameplay means there are a lot of different things for you to try in this franchise, and it gives room for fun experimentation in the eyes of a developer. From classic to adventure to boost, all of these styles are super fun and have their own ups and downs, but there are a few uniform things that make a Sonic game enjoyable. I'll call these the 4 swag... This joke sucks. I don't have time to rewrite it. I'll call these the 4 swag Sonic rules because it's a dumb name and that's kinda funny. 1. Speed is a given. Look at the name of the series. Going fast is a lot of fun. Usually. Number 2. Variety. A good Sonic game will give you fun gimmick levels, or maybe switch up your gameplay style entirely for either whole campaigns or as fun distractions. While you might be sacrificing consistency and risking a shit gameplay style, there's an undeniable amount of content for you to sink your teeth into, and everyone will have their own opinions on what character or style they like to play the most. Number 3, level design and multiple pathways. On a level design standpoint, if you can play a level twice and find new things to do within it on a replay, you get a good ass level on your hands. But even if you're replaying a game that isn't as open, you still have cool choices on how to traverse a certain part of the level, and the game will always usually be asking you to do more than just hold boost or forward. Number 4, I sorta touched on this already, but replayability. I still sometimes find new shit within levels I've played a bajillion times, and it's super fun and interesting to replay levels to find those extra secrets and appreciate the game design. Zoomzyke has really good videos on how much is going on in Sonic levels and why they're so replayable, so check those out. And those are the 4 swag Sonic rules to fun gameplay. Now I know some Sonic games can be pretty cool, but let's be honest, some of them suck. So let's turn our attention to the general style of Sonic's world. I did touch on it briefly earlier, but let's dig in deeper. The character designs are what I'm going to start with. Sonic was initially designed to be appealing to almost all regions, America specifically, and looking at his initial design, it's really easy to tell. However, as we go forward in time, we start to see Sega embrace more of an edge with the character, putting him in these increasingly exaggerated poses. This right here is the style I most associate with the series. While I do understand the argument that this is almost too early 2000s, I personally still really like it. This style has changed and evolved over time, and we still see it sometimes in promotional artwork, albeit a little more modernized and uniform. Honestly, I'm no expert on art and styles like this. If it looks good, it just kinda looks good to me, you know? Obviously, there are a few beautiful exceptions if a game, show, or movie is pushing that extra mile. Overall though, this style I think defines what Sonic's world and characters should really look like in the minds of people. I think nowadays what we have with the 3D renders is definitely a little bit more corporate, but the base designs still combine the best of America's vision of the character along with Japan's. This is strictly talking about promotional art, by the way, because you're not going to be getting models in-game that look nearly as good as the art I'm showing on screen. Now that I've talked about the style of the art, I want to talk about the actual Sonic world, which, unlike promotional art, usually looks good in the games no matter what. Now, the design of the world in Sonic games is relatively varied from game to game, but for me, Sonic's world always works best when it leans into this surreal aesthetic. CD is the most extreme example of this, bordering on almost too much, but I think Sonic 2 and 3 are the best of grounded but still exaggerated and interesting. From tall blue mountains to floating islands in the sky, it's not desert, lava, grass. Heroes is another good example of what I'm talking about as well. There's some magic touch within these level themes that you immediately associate with Sonic. I don't know how well I'm illustrating this point, so sorry about that, but I think me showing concept art on screen is doing a lot for you guys in understanding my thoughts here. I do have some gripes to get off my chest though about the times this is done poorly. The world as depicted in things like Sonic Frontiers and Sonic Lost World, I think are either too grounded or just generic. Unleashed and Adventure are a good example of going for a realistic art style in terms of the world, but still infusing it with some originality and surrealistic landscapes, loops, and corkscrews. Now, you could argue that the loops and corkscrews are purely there for level design and spectacle, but I just associate it with what Sonic's world is at this point. Speaking of spectacle, I think it's impossible to talk about this point without first mentioning the meta-era elephant in the room. There was a long point in time that wasn't even that long ago, where there was always something just missing in new Sonic projects. Now, that's not to devalue any of the games I show on screen here. I actually love all these games, but it's hard to deny in the writing and story department.
It's been generations since I seen you. You okay?
This just wasn't it. Now, I don't want to make this video a meta-era hating rant. We have way more than enough of those already, and frankly, it's all pointless now. I think we've exited the point in the franchise where this is an issue. This script was mostly written before Shadow Generations came out, and I think that game's story has cemented the fact that we've exited the meta era fully. I also don't want to stick on this too long because everyone has their own personal take on what their favorite Sonic story is, whether it be in the movies, comics, shows, or games. I think I can complain a little bit about the meta era because with what we're getting recently, it's really hard to go back. We're getting these amazing action spectacles infused into these stories, whether it be in Dark Beginnings or even Movie 3 at this point. It's a far cry from the cutscenes that were simply just characters talking. The big action spectacles we're getting now help make these games feel more like proper journeys, where there's a real struggle for the hero to actually overcome. Sonic stories were always at their best when there was spectacle and high stakes. I know it can sound kinda redundant when the plot of every game was go kill a god, but it never felt redundant. In fact, it only helped make these stories feel like big events within Sonic's history. I'll be repeating the same sentiment as a lot of people here. No matter what the quality of the game was, there was always a level of care and passion you could see hidden beneath. Now that doesn't excuse the quality of the game, far from it, but I do think it helps illustrate why this character means so much to me. Both in the games and outside of them. When pushed down and at his lowest of lows, there's a dumbass smile on this guy's face. He's inspirational. Almost all the characters in this series have a quote that resonates with someone on a different level.
If the world chooses to become my enemy, I will fight like I always have.
Call me cheesy, maybe a little too sentimental, a cornball, but this character has always felt like a guiding figure in my life due to the stories they're able to tell with him in all forms of media. There's a real heart and soul within this character that will always have different strides for different people, sure, but to me, have always stuck out in my brain as ways to persevere through troubles that life brings you. Sonic's cozy, welcoming face has always been a big factor in that. He's a comfort character, the way some kids look up to Spider-Man or, I don't know, Mr. Rogers.
It's okay if you still need help sometimes. That's just part of growing up.
For my incredible cringe ADHD brain and heart, Sonic was my hero. Whether it be the games, the style, the world, or the stories that actually make people like Sonic, I don't know. Anyway, thank you all for joining me on this journey and listening to me rant like a dumbass, and maybe this made you realize what you love about the series. Maybe I've turned a few people onto the franchise again. Or maybe you still find us cringe, which is fine because we are. Did you see the last section of this video? And yeah, that's about it. I don't know how to outro video.